Halfdan the Black. Prologue. Born in the shadow of the north. The North Sea roared against the iron-gray shores of Norway, its spray carrying the taste of salt and the promise of hardship. In a small coastal settlement, where pine forests climbed the slopes and winter claimed half the year, a boy was born beneath a sky streaked with northern lights. His name was Halfdan, son of a local jarl and younger brother to a boy destined for greatness, Harald, who in time would be called Finehair. From his earliest breath, Halfdan lived in the echo of another's destiny. Harald was tall even as a child, bold of voice and eager for glory. Halfdan was quieter, with a gaze that lingered longer than most, as if measuring the world before acting. He learned early that the most dangerous men were not always the loudest, and that shadows could be as powerful as the light. Their mother, a woman of unyielding will, drilled into them the pride of their bloodline. But where Harald dreamed of thrones, Halfdan dreamed of journeys, of horizons beyond the fjords, of seas unbroken by land. Still, a younger brother's duty was clear, to stand beside Harald, sword in hand, as he carved his path. Brothers in arms. As Harald began his quest to unite Norway under one crown, Halfdan stood at his side, the dependable shadow to the brilliant flame. The brothers raided the coasts of rival jarls, their ships slicing through fog and ice-choked waters. Villages fell beneath their banners. Enemies were given the choice of fealty or death. Halfdan was not the voice in the war council, that was Harald's realm. But on the field, his leadership was unmistakable. He positioned shield walls with ruthless efficiency, anticipated enemy maneuvers, and struck where the foe was weakest. Warriors who might defy Harald would still follow Halfdan, for his orders saved lives as often as they ended them. The bond between them was iron-strong, forged in the fire of shared battles. Yet in the quiet moments between campaigns, Halfdan sometimes looked at the horizon and wondered what life might be if it were not lived entirely for his brother's cause. The call of the South. That wondering became action when Bjorn Ironside returned from his famed voyages to the west. Bjorn spoke of lands where the sun burned hotter than any Viking summer, where gold was traded for spices, and cities were defended by walls higher than pine trees. He planned a new expedition, not to the familiar shores of Britain or Francia, but deep into the Mediterranean Sea. Harald refused. Norway still needed conquering, and Harald's crown was far from secure. But Halfdan felt the old hunger stir in him. This was more than a raid. This was a chance to see the edges of the world. Against Harald's wishes, he joined Bjorn's fleet. The voyage south was a trial by ocean. Storms battered their ships until the masts groaned like wounded beasts. In foreign ports, they met foes whose armor gleamed with bronze, and whose tactics differed from anything in the north. They fought Moors along the Iberian coast, outmaneuvered Frankish patrols, and even traded with merchants in the shadow of Roman ruins. Halfdan absorbed it all, the sight of marble temples, the taste of foreign wine, the cunning strategies of generals who fought without relying on brute strength alone. A changed man. When he returned to Scandinavia, Halfdan was no longer merely Harald's quiet brother. He had seen the world beyond Norway's fjords, and it had changed him. His conversations with Harald grew shorter, sharper. He still fought in his brother's campaigns, but the old unquestioning loyalty had frayed. Halfdan began to ally himself with other leaders, sometimes even with men Harald considered rivals. It was not betrayal, not yet, but it was a clear sign that Halfdan's ambitions no longer ran parallel to Harald's. He valued freedom over crowns, and had little patience for endless wars that bled the land without mending it. Wars in the west. When the Viking armies sought to claim lands in England, Halfdan sailed west once more. He fought in Northumbria, where bitter winds cut through armor and the mud sucked at a warrior's boots like a living thing. The battles were brutal and chaotic, shield walls collapsing under cavalry charges, arrows falling like winter hail. Halfdan proved himself again and again. At the Siege of York, he personally led the night raid that opened the gates from within, slipping through the shadows with a hand-picked band. In the melee that followed, his axe struck down an English thane of high rank, earning him both fear and respect among the enemy. Despite his victories, Halfdan never sought to rule England. To him, it was another chapter in a saga of movement, a story of roads taken and seas crossed. The last campaign. Years later, when tensions once again flared between the Vikings and the English kingdoms, Halfdan joined an army aiming to solidify control in Northumbria. This time, the English came in greater numbers, their banners stretching across the horizon. The battle was fought under skies heavy with rain. The ground turned to sucking mud, making shield walls treacherous to hold. Halfdan fought with the patience of a hunter, striking, withdrawing, striking again. His sword found the gaps in mail. His shield turned aside blows that would have felled lesser men. But fate does not bargain. In the chaos of the melee, a spear caught him in the side, sliding between the plates of his armor. The wound was deep, but he fought on until the battle ended. Death of a warrior. Carried from the field, Halfdan lay in a tent, the smell of wet earth and blood mingling in the air. For days he lingered, drifting between waking and dreams of long-forgotten shores. Bjorn Ironside came to him then, older and wearier than when they had sailed together. "You have been a steadfast friend," Bjorn said, gripping his arm, "and a worthy enemy to those who dared oppose you." Halfdan's voice was faint but steady. "I have lived as I wished," he said. "Not in shadow, not on a throne, but free." He died that night, with the sound of rain drumming on the tent above, as if the sea itself had come to claim him. His body was placed upon a ship, set alight, and pushed into the dark waters. Flames danced on the waves, carrying the last of Halfdan the Black into the endless horizon, a place where no king ruled and no man was bound.